Welcome to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Here are your hosts, DJ Marcotte and John Soroyce. Enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast, the one and only working class podcast. We are the Blue Collar Ballers. John and DJ, check us out on our Facebook page at Armchair Fantasy Football, on where we have over 500 likes, by the way.
Thank you for helping us get there.
Also on Twitter at Armchair FF Pod. I'm on Twitter at Armchair Kingpin. John is on Twitter at John2977. Email us at armchairfb@gmail.com. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Podbean. We are having some issues with Spotify that we need to work out. We're not popping up there for some reason, I'm hearing, so we'll have to fix that.
Yeah, Dr. Clouseau will figure it out.
But you can watch us on YouTube. Just search Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. So, I mean, we can get right into the news. John, how you doing today?
Good, how about yourself?
Excellent. It's a beautiful day up here in Maine in the fall. Can't get much better than that. Monday night game, John. I watched that bad boy, and it was a pretty good game. But having watched the entire game, I think that the fix might have been in. There were some really egregious calls by the NFL referees. There was a pass interference call. A blatant pass interference call that should have been called against Green Bay for Marvin Jones, who basically got throttled before he was allowed to attempt to catch the ball. There was no call there. That was a terrible no call. There were a couple of illegal hands to the face calls that weren't even on the face or the neck. They were on the chest. The second one gave Green Bay an opportunity to run out the clock and win the game. So not only did we witness the National Football League's referees cost a team a game, but we saw the very split second, the very moment. I mean, that literally won the game for Green Bay. And you and I have talked in the past that there's been some real weird stuff in the past in the NFL. There was a pass interference on against a defender in Jacksonville, covering Rob Gronkowski, that just didn't happen, and they called it in the AFC Championship a couple years ago. We know the situation with New Orleans last year being jobbed out of their shot at the Super Bowl. I mean, we have seen, John, NBA referees fix games. The precedent has been set. And I've said for a long time that we need referees, just like coaches, just like players, have to sit at press conferences and answer for what went on during the game. Referees need to do that too, in my opinion. I don't know where you stand on that, but
I think they should.
This needs to stop.
They should answer for their actions. I mean, I totally agree with that. They should be at the press conference or held separately. But the problem is that's something they're going to have to figure out, like either enforce that. I get making a mistake here and there, but some of these mistakes are so blatant. It's like, I mean, last night, let's be honest, Lions won that game.
They won the
period.
game.
They won the game.
I mean, maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but they didn't have an opportunity. I mean, Aaron Rodgers could have got the ball in the end zone, and Detroit could have had 60 seconds to get the ball down the field. We don't know, but we've seen teams do it. 60 seconds can be a lifetime in an NFL game. It is.
It can be, especially with timeouts or getting out of bounds. I mean, there's like, look at Aaron Rodgers. He only needs like 40 seconds, and the guy can get downfield.
A lot of these guys, and it wasn't. And I want to just recap again that it wasn't just that play, John. It was a number of calls that were, and I tweeted at our lovely commissioner, Roger Goodell, asking him for answers, and he didn't answer me, John. That might surprise you, but Big Rich Raj doesn't want to talk to the working class, apparently, about what's going on in his league and things that are affecting the outcomes of games and fantasy games too, John. I mean, I might have won had Aaron Rodgers thrown a touchdown to MVS in that situation. And of course, the bigger picture, it's costing NFL teams games. Where are the investigate? I mean, this is egregious, and I'm not the type of person that gets outraged, John. Like I said, I'm an 80s and 90s kid, as are you. Not much offends us. This offends my sensibilities, as Dr. Phil would say. This needs to be fixed. I mean, if you guys want to go back into the Wayback Machine to the Fail Mary, do you remember the Fail Mary, John?
No.
You don't remember the Fail Mary? Holy cow, man. So anyway, the NFL had its referees go on strike, and there were replacement referees. And there was a call called the Fail Mary that really forced the NFL's hand because it was so bad of a call to get their regular referees a deal and get them back on the field. But when I look back, and I remember myself at the time saying, this is a call that I see the regular referees make all the time. This is a bad call. I mean, they make just as many bad calls as these quote-unquote scabs. What's the difference, And we're seeing it now, man. I mean, this is a shame. And, this not only, John, could this have cost Detroit the game. It did cost them the game. But now what's their record? Not too good. Could have cost them their season because a referee, in my opinion, the guy had money on the game. I don't know any, and he was right on top of the action, John. It wasn't a situation where he didn't have a good vantage point. He was right on top of the action and threw a flag. I don't know. I can't explain any other reason than to put money in his pocket. I can't. And I got news for you. I'm not the only one. Look at the reaction on Twitter. Look at the reaction on Facebook. Look at the reaction in the media, John.
Oh, the fans are outraged. I mean, it was all, if you were on social media last night.
I'm not a Lions fan, just to throw that out there.
Either am I. But social media was going crazy last night because of these calls. And I know I read something earlier today saying that the Referees Association, whatever they're known as in the NFL, were having an emergency meeting based on the play calling, just not last night, but just in general. I don't know what's going to be done or what's going to be said. I'm curious to see what is said.
I better see a fine for this referee. I better see a fine for the head referee of this game.
Why is there discipline for players but not refs?
There's discipline, unless, Bob Kraft isn't, but there's typically discipline for owners. There's discipline for executives, coaches, players, but you can be a ref and basically throw the game or fix the game and not get penalized at all.
I mean, other sports, like you said, we've seen shaved points. Who's to say it's not happening in the NFL? Last night might be a clear indication.
No, it happened in the NBA. Yeah. It happened in college basketball.
It's happened in many sports. It's happened in baseball.
These are still human beings filling these roles. I think we need to understand that. And it just happened on the biggest stage where everybody was watching Monday Night Football. And it was blatant. It was bad. So if we move on to, I don't know if you want to move on to the game itself and the fantasy stat lines, but it was a pretty good game. It was a pretty fun game to watch. Rodgers had a solid game. Did throw an interception, but 2 touchdowns, 283 yards. It looked very similar to a New England style game script, John. A lot of short to intermediate routes, but it got the job done. Jamal Williams had an excellent day, 14 carries for 104 yards. Aaron Jones, 11 carries, 47 yards. Fumbled the ball, dropped a surefire touchdown. Just not a good game for Aaron Jones. So maybe he was still living in week 5, but he might have wanted to show up for work in week 6. And when he fumbled, I was like, oh, there we go. Mr. Aaron Jones costing me the game. And then he dropped that touchdown, and then you started seeing a lot of work from Jamal Williams after that. So that's interesting. And I know, obviously, Williams coming back from injury, John, and LaFleur has talked about a split committee. So do you see more work from Jamal Williams, or is this just a one-time deal here?
I think you will see more work here, especially depending on the outcome of if Adams is going to play this new week 7, I should say. And also Allison, because I believe he's in the concussion protocol, or will be in the concussion protocol after that hit last night.
Probably. And just to add real quick on Williams as well, also caught 4 passes for 32 yards and a touchdown. So he had a great game. If you're asking who fills in the role for Davante Adams and Geronimo Allison, or specifically Davante Adams, it's everybody. Darius Shepard, Aaron Jones, Jake Kumaro, Jimmy Graham, Jamal Williams, Geronimo Allison, Marcus Valdez-Scantling, Mercedes Lewis, and Alan Lazard all caught passes in this game.
He spread the ball out quite a bit.
Lazard being the best of them, if you can imagine that, 4 for 65 and a touchdown on 5 targets. The most heavily targeted players were Aaron Jones and Geronimo Allison. Marcus Valdez-Scantling seeing 2 targets. How much of that is Darius Slay, John? Or how much of that is maybe this kid's just not that good?
He missed, I remember, because I didn't watch the game like you did. I did read something about Scantling. What was it?
He missed a very short period of time.
His hamstring, he missed the first half, is what it said. Or like
He
after
didn't
the
miss
first,
the
first half.
It was part of the second quarter.
Yeah, he came back, was I guess in the third quarter, they said. But, I mean, he only had 2 targets, 2 catches. This limited his performance because,
I don't know, man. Like, sometimes I watch these guys in the huddle, and you can tell when it's a play that involves them. They have that. They kind of hop out of the huddle into the,
no pizzazz.
And he just, his body language, the look on his face was just like, yeah, I guess I'm not part of the game plan here. So that concerns me. I mean, I had to start MBS because Devontae doesn't want to play football right now. He'll come back when he's ready, when his body tells him. And it has not worked out for me both weeks. Frankly, MBS has cost me 2 wins here, so I got to look at an alternative there if Adams is out again this
Maybe you
week.
get Lazard because it sounds like Le Fleur.
Yeah, but Lazard is a perfect example of a guy having one good game and then disappearing. On the Detroit side of the ball, Kerryon Johnson, only 13 carries for 34 yards, but he did have a touchdown and caught a couple passes for 27 yards, so a solid day for him. TJ Hawkinson got some work, dropped a touchdown here that really would have made his day, 4 for 21. So, I mean, if he had caught that touchdown, it would have been a great day for him. Not much from Marvin Jones, 2 catches for 17 yards. Galladay, though, John, he won you your week.
Yes, thank you, Galladay. It's a holiday with Galladay.
5 catches for 121 yards. He was balling out there. And then Stafford had a pretty solid day in terms of yardage, but just no touchdowns on his end. 265 yards, 18 for 32. So just a so-so day, actually. Not that great. He looked better in person when I was watching the game than he actually did on the stat line. But yeah, a pretty ho-hum game. Not the blowout or I should say the bonanza that we expected it might be.
It started off that way.
But
and
a lot of drama.
It went to field goal fest. Matt Prater had what? How many field goals? 5? 4?
Yeah. We don't really talk about kickers because personally, we don't have them in our leagues, and if you have them in your league, you should just get rid of them.
I mean, Stafford didn't throw a pick.
He did not, which was great. Aaron Rodgers did. Aaron Rodgers looked really good out there, John. And all I kept thinking was, man, if he had Adams right now, how much better would he look? But we'll talk a little bit more about A-Rod. So what else we got in the news? I know that was a big chunk of it right there, but we had to talk about.
Yeah, very light on injury news as of right now. There's optimism that Emmanuel Sanders, his knee, that he will play this Thursday, but stay tuned, probably know more by tomorrow on that. If not, I mean, Cortland Sutton is obviously the first option there, but it would be a great bump to Deshaun Hamilton this week.
Can I just go back? I hate to go back to it, but I just want to read a couple of tweets from Barry Sanders.
Oh, he was upset.
Okay?
Yes.
This is sickening. This is Barry Sanders, at Barry Sanders, in case you're wondering. This is sickening. The NFL needs to look at a way to prevent that from happening. 2 phantom hands to the face calls really hurts us tonight. Yes, we could have scored TDs, but the Lions played too well to have the game end this way. And then in another tweet, I know that no one on the Lions can say it, so I will. That is terrible missed call on hands to the face and a bad break for our D that is playing so hard. Hashtag replay help needed. And then Desmond Howard, the refs need to be investigated. This is horrendous. Check bank accounts. I'm with you on that one, Desmond. Just saying. That's a good one. I love you, Desmond Howard. 2-sport athlete.
Calvin Johnson was upset too.
It was, yeah, I didn't see it.
Oh, it was all, like I said, social media blew up sideways.
Man, all right, we don't need to rant on it anymore. You know how we feel about it. Bad deal. And the NFL has a problem with their referees, and they need to fix it. And it's been a problem for a long time.
Okay, Philip Dorsett hamstring is back at practice, and N'Keal Harry is practicing as well. But Josh Gordon, his knee, he is not practicing.
Ilo.
So that's good for Jacoby Myers. and a few others there. Next bit of news.
It's good for Tom Brady that those two guys will be back. I think N'Keal Harry's going to be good, man.
Panthers coach Ron Rivera would not confirm if Cam Newton, whose Lisfranc injury, his foot, will return to practice next week. He is slowly making it back, but they want him to be 100%. The scary part is they face the 49ers week 8. I don't think they're going to rush him back till after that.
Well, their defense, man, is playing well. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't really broken out this year. So
he's managed the game.
I think that'll be a closer game.
They have one of the best rushing games right now, actually.
Yeah, that could equal a good, big George Kittle day, I hope. Because Carolina's pretty good against receivers. I agree with what they're doing here. Kyle Allen is doing fine filling in. They haven't lost a game.
No.
I don't know that that's Kyle Allen doing that. I think that's more their
McCaffrey.
defense and McCaffrey. But you want Cam back at 100%. Like I said yesterday, Cam at 100% is 3 times the quarterback that Kyle Allen is at 100%. So get right. And
this year's the year of the backup quarterbacks, and some of these backup quarterbacks
are crazy.
Yeah, this is a crazy year for quarterbacks. So, last bit of news.
Like I said, for fantasy though.
Yeah,
not good for fantasy. Not one of them have turned into anything special.
Minshew is the closest,
maybe,
probably,
or Dr. Jones.
Either one. Last bit of news. Like I said, it was short and sweet today. Chris Thompson has turf toe.
That's a bummer. Chris Thompson's a steady 10-point PPR
guy. My guess is usually turf toe. I mean, look at Devontae Adams, already missed 2 weeks. So I'm guessing 2 to 3 weeks for Chris Thompson, unless I haven't heard the extent of it yet, but it's not a good sign. Definitely helps Adrian Peterson without Gucci in the backfield as well.
Yeah, maybe Trey Quinn, too. Might see a little bit more action with Thompson out.
It won't be Jordan Reed.
Is he still out?
Injured reserve.
Yeah, he's just retired, dude. At this point you're embarrassing yourself. And I love Jordan Reed, man. I had him that year that he was really, really good, but he's just tarnishing what little legacy he has left at this point. It's sad. I like the guy. He's cool. So you good?
I'm good. That's it.
All right. So today, guys, we're gonna talk about. We got a segment that is got a few different categories. Buy low, which means you buy low and their stock is low and you try to acquire them. Gotta go, which means you cut them. Sell high, which means they're doing really well, but you're not sold on them, so you trade them. Or stand by and you just stick with the guy. Buy low, gotta go. Sell high, or stand by. So we're gonna go through players one at a time here and discuss from our standpoint what we would do with that player, and then we got a little lightning round action later on. But before we get to that, guys, guess what I want to talk about, John?
I have no idea.
Oh my God! Sometimes I don't know what to do with you. I want to take a moment to mention our GoFundMe page, John, at www.gofundme.com/armchair.
After that game last night.
Armchair-fantasy-football-podcast. If you guys could support us by making a donation, then sharing it with your network, we would greatly appreciate it. We know that money can be tight. So if you like what we're doing, please know that even $5 helps us get closer to our goal. Let us know if you have any questions. We'll be happy to answer them. Help the Working Class Podcast continue to provide great content and keep the blue-collar baller dream alive. We sincerely appreciate it, even if you can just share the GoFundMe page posts and tweets. Now you know what I was going to talk about?
I figured it was that. It was either
Oh, yeah. I don't know. That's what I thought, but, I just told you I did.
You put it in different spots every time.
I know. I like to keep it fresh. So, Tyler Lockett, John. What are you doing with Tyler Lockett right now? Are you buying low? You're not cutting him. Are you selling high? Or are you just standing by?
I think I would stand by.
I think I would sell high, but with a caveat. The thing about Tyler Lockett is that his Tyler, boy, I'm having a rough day, man. That game ended late, you know what I mean? But Tyler Lockett, his target count is not high. And for me, that's a little bit of a concern. His touchdown rate, John, is really high. So when you have those two things, that's going to provide very good fantasy numbers, but are they sustainable? With that being said, these are the same things that I talked about last year. If you look at his numbers right now, and I'm going to pull up the game log here real quick to be specific. Week 1 was a rough game for him. 1 reception on 2 targets for 44 yards. He did have a touchdown, though, so that saved his day. Week 2, 10 receptions on 12 targets for 79 yards, no touchdown. Week 3, 11 receptions on 14 targets and a touchdown. Huge game for him. Last few weeks, though, John, 4 targets, and 5 targets. So his target count has gone down significantly. And, of course, in week 5, he had a touchdown. I still do not look. I like Tyler Lockett as a player, John, but he's just not sustainable. But he's providing good fantasy numbers. I don't know how long that's going to happen before he turns into a Stephon Diggs or a Will Fuller type of player. So that's why I'm selling high on him right now. Why are you keeping him?
Disley out for the year.
True. I can see that.
I think the target.
Do you think Luke Wilson helps out?
Oh, Mr. Wilson. I think he'll be used sporadically.
Yeah, he didn't really take advantage of it.
No. I think they're going to
Wilson.
lean on Jaron Brown, David Moore.
David Moore?
David Moore. They're going to use these guys, especially DK Metcalf, And
I love DK right
same
now.
with me. I think he's great. We'll go into that. I'm not going to ruin it. But I still think you hold on to Tyler Lockett here. I mean, the Disley injury does change this offense. He was targeted 27 times before the injury, and he was pretty consistent. You're talking about a target share of, don't count this last week as he missed most of the game, but he was averaging about 4.5 targets per game. So those got to go somewhere.
So I'm on the buy low. John, you're holding on. All right, I'm on the sell high. John, you're just holding on to him there, which is fine.
Yeah.
So moving on, Keenan Allen, John, his production and target count the last 3 weeks has been pretty rough, and it's kind of gone hand in hand a little bit with Phil Rivers. He hasn't played that great either. They just played a Pittsburgh defense that wasn't good to start the season, but since they got Minka Fitzpatrick, they've completely turned it around. So maybe the matchups haven't been great with Denver prior to that, but in Miami prior to that, his last 3 weeks, 5 catches on 6 targets for 48 yards against Miami. Real disappointment there. And then versus Denver, 4 receptions on 6 targets for 18 yards. And then, of course, this past week, 2 receptions on 6 targets for 33 yards, John. I get 6 targets. That's great. First 3 weeks, though, John, 10 targets, 15 targets, 17 targets. Hunter Henry's back in the mix. Obviously, Mike Williams is in the mix. Melvin Gordon is back in the mix. And those target counts have gone down. What are you doing with Keenan Allen right now? I'm buying low on him.
Oh, he's a definitely buy low candidate. Last year, he goes, I was saying yesterday, I believe, he goes on these little streaks of not being fantastic, and then he'll explode. And then, like I was saying, the DJ, I believe it was, 2 years ago you had him. He was, I'm not saying he was panicking, but he was a little concerned that, Allen wasn't doing well.
I literally said, if I don't get it from him this week, I'm trading him.
And then he exploded for 5 straight weeks, 10-plus targets? Here's the thing, guys. He's still seen a decent amount of target share, even with Gordon and Henry back. And he actually, in the league right now, he is number 3 for total targets average. There's only 2 people higher than him. That's Kupp and Michael Thomas. But Allen, of these 3, are the only 3 receivers in double digits, and Allen is one of them. He's averaging 10 targets. So I would hold on to him. I would buy low. But if you are an owner who has him and is concerned, I would also stand by him. He's going to break out.
And let's not forget, Xavier Howard is a pretty good corner over there in Miami. Chris Harris is as shut down as they get right now. So he's had some tough matchups recently in the last few weeks. And, of course, Minka Fitzpatrick is looming in Pittsburgh. I don't know that he's shadowing Keenan Allen, but at the same time.
And I think Gordon kind of messed this up a little bit. I'm not blaming on Gordon, but they're trying to get this whole team reestablished. Gordon coming back. They're trying to get the carries in there. Eckler, they're trying to keep him active. I think once they just get the right mix, Allen's going to get there. Yeah, rhythm, the chemistry. And it looks like the chemistry is going to – I think if it's not this week, it's definitely the next few weeks. And I think, like I said, he's going to explode, and he's going to go for his random 4 or 5 games of explosion.
Yeah.
So if you don't get him now,
Buy low.
buy low.
And if you own him, stand by your
Stand
man.
by.
Yeah.
Stand by your man. Blues Brothers.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was Patsy Cline.
No, the song is Patsy Cline, but it was in Blues Brothers.
Oh, was it? I haven't seen Blues Brothers.
Love that movie.
I haven't seen it in a long time. Great movie, but I don't remember much of it. So maybe it was trash. I don't know. You know who's trash?
Who's trash?
Baker Mayfield's trash right now. Not good. He not good. He bad. And hopefully he can turn it around. But if we're looking at his stats so far this year, he has thrown 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 interceptions this year, John, which is a number that you don't like to see for a season, let alone for the first 6 weeks.
He's on pace for 33 picks. If you did
Which
the whole,
I don't think's gonna
That's not
happen.
going to happen. I know.
And he's not on pace for a ton of touchdowns. He's only got 5 of those so far. One on the ground. Not a good year so far for Baker Mayfield. This is another one of those situations where the team, quote unquote, wins in the postseason, the offseason, and free agency, and the draft. They win and all these things in the offseason, and it amounts to Jack and squat, and Jack left town during the regular season. Baker Mayfield is a bit of an enigma for me because there's some value there, John. He's got a really good playoff schedule. Plays Cincinnati, Arizona, and Baltimore in the fantasy playoffs.
And they have not looked good.
No, specifically Cincy and Arizona. Cincy will be in full tank mode by then.
Aren't they already?
Yeah, so imagine what they'll be in weeks 13 through 16. So the next few games are tough. Don't get me wrong. You're not starting him the next few games. But if you grab him and you can stash him on your bench if you have room to hold on to him for the fantasy playoffs, he might be a buy low. But, John, I think that's kind of a leap of faith. He is a cut candidate right now. He is a gotta-go candidate. But if you made me pick a side, I would say buy low on him because of his fantasy playoff schedule and because the talent on that team, I got to imagine they're going to come together.
So you're
at some
saying
point.
stash and go.
Right. I would stash him for the fantasy playoffs if you can, if you have that extra roster spot. In our league, John, we only have 5 bench spots in our tag team league. So there's not a lot of wiggle room there.
He'd be a cut candidate.
He could be.
Yeah.
He could be. But I'm going to say right now he's a buy low candidate. And people are cutting him. He got cut in our tag team league. We just didn't pay enough to get him. We put $16 up there, though, so that's
actually decent for it with the numbers he's been doing.
Yeah, no. So
He has
anyway,
the most interceptions.
That's
so.
my take on Baker. I don't know where you stand on him.
No, I agree with that. With his fantasy, playoff schedule, that's something I can't see him being this bad. If they are, he's going to set a record here. So, I mean, if you got the spot, stash him away. If not, then, if you feel you don't have a spot and you're, not a good bench, then cut him or try to buy low if you do have another spot as well or you're thinking ahead. That means you got to make the playoffs first.
Right.
Be part of that schedule. So
moving on to Devonta Freeman, John. This one's a little bit of an enigma for me as well.
Got it.
I really want a part of the Atlanta offense, John. Why do you think that is?
because Matt Ryan is on pace to break Peyton Manning's single-season record of passing yards.
Well, that's part of it. And why is he doing that? Because their defense is awful.
They are playing from behind. They actually are probably third the worst defense. Miami's the worst.
Keanu Neal got hurt. And he's the heartbeat of that defense. It's amazing. And this happened last year, too. I've never seen one guy completely change it. I mean, they looked good the first couple weeks with him out there. And then he wasn't. And then now they're back to being the worst defense in football, arguably. And that was the case last year as well. These guys are going to be playing from behind all the time, number one. Number two, they have the talent to score a lot of points. Devonta Freeman is one of those guys that can contribute. He can contribute through the air, on the ground. I think he's the goal line back. The schedule for him isn't great. New Orleans in week 10, Tampa Bay week 12, New Orleans again week 13, San Francisco week 15. Those are all top 5, John, fantasy defenses against running backs. Does have Jacksonville championship week, who are the 5th worst against running backs. I just think if you can get Devonta Freeman, he's a buy low for me, because if you can get him at a value and he doesn't have to be your RB1 or even RB2 necessarily, he's a great guy to have on your team because he's attached to that that Atlanta offense.
But at the same time, he's also a sell high candidate. His numbers he's put up the last few weeks, I think you might be able to get more for him, especially with that tough run defense coming up. But the thing I do like...
I think people look at the 2.3 yards a carry in week 4, the 2.7 yards a carry in week 5.
The one thing I like about Freeman, his rushing has not been stellar. Like, subpar would be the word to use.
Yeah.
But his target share out of the backfield is actually very consistent. He is averaging...
4 or 5 most weeks, which is good.
He's averaging almost 5 targets a game.
Yeah. He had 9 targets one week.
And then his lowest was this past week with 3, but he's
Right.
averaging 4.8 if you want to be exact.
So his usage is obviously baked in. Yeah, his efficiency varies from week to week, and I think that's why I'm looking at a buy low, because he hasn't been very efficient. His numbers at the end of the day in terms of fantasy points looks fine, but how he gets there is...
Yeah, but if they're always playing from behind, he's going to be involved.
I agree. Yep.
In that passing game. Not Ito or Ish, I used to call him. Ish is more the...
Apparently there was an NBA player named Ish Smith.
Yeah, he used to play for the
Iz,
Pistons. Yeah, Ish Smith.
Yeah.
So
weird name. So yeah, good.
Okay,
good.
Next one. We're good.
Terrific. Tom Brady's the next one, John. I got some interesting stats for you. Tom Brady, what do you think I have him as?
Sell high.
Sell him high. And watch him fly.
I actually agree with that.
So I'll tell you why I think he's a sell high. 2018, Brady threw for 300 plus yards and more than 1 touchdown. So those 2 things combined, okay, in one game. So that stat, 300 plus yards and more than 1 TD. After week 6 that year, he only did it once. After week 6 in 2018, last season. And then, if you look further into it, he threw for more than 1 touchdown 4 times after week 6 in 2018. Just 4 times. And then, separate from that, he threw for 300 or more yards just 3 times after week 6 in 2018. Those are not stud fantasy numbers from a quarterback. Those are fine numbers. And in some cases, in some of those games, downright terrible numbers, specifically in the fantasy playoffs. If you look at 2017, he threw 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, John, during the fantasy playoff time frame. More interceptions than he did touchdowns. In a 3-game span, he only threw 4, so that's just over 1 touchdown a game for him, which is not what you want in the fantasy playoffs. If you're looking at the last few years, Brady slows down significantly down the stretch, and he's just getting older. And there's only so much avocado hormone ice cream out there. And it's a proven fact. If you look at the last couple of years, I would sell high on Tom Brady right now. There's a guy in our league that has Matt Ryan and Tom Brady. I would hold on to Matt Ryan, and I would sell Tom Brady if I was him. And I'd do it pretty quickly. Because guess what week just went past us? Week 6. So the decline starts in week 6. If you look at last year, and if you look at the year before, that's a little bit later. But the year before that, he was a little bit younger.
Another interesting stat, I don't have it in front of me. This is from years of me watching the Pats.
His schedule's great. That's the only caveat to that.
The thing about Brady is right around week 13, right when the fantasy playoffs start, Brady does not do well in the fantasy playoffs. He might have like 1 solid game, and I'm going to say solid. I'm not going to say extraordinary. But Brady has been known to not be stellar in any fantasy playoffs. That's the biggest reason I would sell high here. And I think also last year we saw Sonny Michel emerged near the end of the season running the ball very well, so which is also going to decline Brady's numbers. I'm hoping that scenario happens again because we are Michel owners.
Yeah.
So Brady's getting older. Age is catching up with him. Obviously he's managing the game more. And this production he's been putting up early is phenomenal. So I think you sell him high while you can.
I definitely agree with that. You could get, I think right now you could get, let's say, a Carson Wentz and a Royce Freeman out of that. I really do. And I would rather have the Carson Wentz and Royce Freeman add some running back depth. mean, you could even get, if it's a Patriots fan, you might be able to get a Carson Wentz and Phillip Lindsay mix in there. You know what I mean? Or even if it's a, I don't know, you could get a Matt Ryan and an Alexander Madison combo. You know, you get more value. You're not going to get a treasure trove for him, but you're getting value for him. And at the end of the season, his numbers could very likely go down. History says that's the case. However, this may be the easiest schedule I've ever seen in my fantasy football career for the New England Patriots. So that does work in their favor. I still wouldn't take the chance. I would trade Brady right now and get as much as you can for him. Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. Is that who we're on next?
Are we doing the discount double check? All right, Aaron Rodgers for me, John, is a buy low. I look at him at the opposite side of Tom Brady. Has not had the best season this year. But if you look at his season, John, he's had 2 weeks without his number one target. And arguably, I don't even think it's arguable, it is the best player on that offense, outside of maybe Aaron Rodgers, is definitely Davante Adams. And he has been without Adams the last 2 weeks. Add to that, John, very run-heavy script the first few games, very Minnesota-esque. And that was not to his advantage either. He's been under 25 passing attempts every week this season, John. Under 25 passing attempts. And in 2 of those games, it was in the teens. Really, really low numbers, passing numbers for even Aaron Rodgers, who doesn't have huge passing numbers, traditionally in terms of attempts. He has a lot of touchdowns. But to be in the teens in Aaron Rodgers, that's an outlier. And I think that outlier changes as the season progresses. He's going to get Adams back. Is it this week? Is it next week? Who knows? But if you look at it, John, and just when I acquired Adams from you for half my team, thanks, Davante, Rodgers really started to click with him in that game, John, and they really got back to the Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams power team that they were in the past. And then obviously Adams got injured. I think they'll pick that back up right where they left off when Adams returns. If you look at his schedule, his upcoming schedule is pretty solid, John.
If you guys remember week 1, I said that Rodgers owns the Chicago Bears. I know that was a close game week 1, but he still owns them lifetime. Yeah. And the difference is when he plays Chicago week 15 in the playoffs, they're at Lambeau, not Soldier Field. That's a huge advantage right there.
That might be my Josh Allen week, though, because I did just trade for Aaron Rodgers.
It could be.
See who he
but Aaron Rodgers,
week.
He's a great buy low candidate. He faced the Raiders, awful secondary. Kansas City, secondary is not good. Chargers is a hit or miss. They're not awful, but they're not great either.
They're banged up.
Panthers, believe it or not, are better run defense than they are passing defense, but they're not. They're probably middle of the pack. 49ers, well, as of right now.
And that's at home in Lambeau, Carolina.
As of right now, we got to respect 49ers. That's a tough matchup.
Yep.
Giants are easy. Redskins are easy.
And that's the first 2 weeks of the fantasy play. The last week of the season. So you're getting into the fantasy playoffs. And then, of course, Washington is the first week of the fantasy playoffs.
Yep. And then second round would be the Bears.
And then another game, division game against Minnesota in championship week. So.
Yep, which they beat Minnesota.
Right.
So
not a bad schedule here at all. And in some cases, a great schedule. I'm buying low. I did buy low on Aaron Rodgers, and I would encourage everybody else to do the same.
Yeah, but I think also people are panicking because some of these games were kind of game scripted, especially like Dallas. They just jumped on that lead quick and they just started running the ball. So Aaron, it obviously changes Aaron Rodgers' numbers. If you're up 21-0, why are you throwing the ball?
Yeah,
that's just bad coaching right there. So I mean, look at some of these teams coming up. I mean, he's going to torch these guys regardless, unless the defense jumps out and takes a big lead. But Rodgers will be fine. He's also without his number one weapon, who will be coming back. I think, like you said, you buy low.
Yep. Definitely.
And if you're a Rodgers owner, then you stay put. Who do you got next?
I got Juju Smith-Schuster.
Juju.
I say that with a little bit of sadness in my voice. I love Juju. This guy's a great dude. And he's fantasy aware. He always wants to perform for his fantasy owners. He has just been held hostage a couple of games this year. Week 4 against Cincinnati, which you would expect to be a fantasy bonanza. The first game that Mason Rudolph fully started. 3 catches on 4 attempts for 15 yards. Just straight up bad stat line. Came back, bounced back against Baltimore, had a little bit more chemistry with Rudolph. 7 targets, 7 receptions, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Excellent game there. And then, of course, what's the guy's name? Calvin and Hobbs.
Delvin Hodges.
Calvin and Hobbs starts at quarterback this past week. 1 catch for 4 yards on 7 targets. 1 catch on 4 targets for 7 yards. Very similar to that stat line, even worse in week 4. So hopefully he sees another bounce back after the bye. They are on bye this week. It's just, boy, oh boy. Such a talented guy. I don't think I'm ready to give up yet, though, John, because I think he's going to turn it around. I think he'll get more chemistry with whatever quarterback they're rolling out there on any given week. But the consistency of, he's had 3 different quarterbacks throwing to him this year, John. And they've been fortunate in a couple of games. The Chargers game surprised me. I thought they were going to play from behind in that game, and they actually controlled the clock.
They were up 21-0. Like I said to you, like we said on the podcast last night, why would you throw the ball with a third-string quarterback? So it was clearly game scripted, which that affects Juju. Yeah,
and that could change.
And it could change. But
so what I'm doing with Juju right now, you're not. I mean, you can definitely buy low. I would buy low on him if you're not a Juju Smith-Schuster owner. You can't sell him because you're not going to get near what you should for him. So if you're an owner of his, which I am, stand by.
He's got a great schedule coming up. Week 8, he faces the Dolphins.
It's pretty good.
Colts are middle
it's
of the pack.
Great, but
it's not great.
solid.
Rams, the way they're looking right now, with Aqib Talib, and they just traded
Yeah.
Marcus Peters, that'd be a great matchup there. The Browns, they've been banged up, but are they going to get back their pieces by then?
But it's hard to, get a rhythm with a quarterback when you don't know which one you're going to play.
That's the
with
problem.
that week.
I think he would do better with Rudolph. That's my personal opinion. I know you don't like Rudolph, but I think Rudolph's better for this team.
He looked great with him in the second game. So the problem with Juju is he's probably going to be game script dependent for the rest of the year. He's going to be a feast or famine guy because of where his value is at now. You're not going to get what you should for him. So if you're an owner of his, I would stand by. I say buy low on him. But again, if you're buying low on him, understand that he's not going to be the Juju that you expect and know and love from last season.
Well, he lost his.
You lost the starting quarterback, a Hall of Fame starting quarterback.
I mean, here's the thing, guys. Targets are still there. He's averaging 6.3 targets per game.
Yeah, but the 2 out of the last 3 weeks, that hasn't been good.
Yes, that's hurt him. Yes,
it's been 4 targets 2 of the last 3.
He's gonna have a cardboard cutout through him too if this guy takes a shot.
What do you mean? What does that even mean?
That means he's just gonna have I don't even know who the 4th-string quarterback is.
Oh,
there.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I
I don't think he can afford a 4th-string quarterback.
If Calvin and Hobbs goes down, then okay, I got
Panic.
So Le'Veon Bell. We'll move on to the Bell Cow over in New York. I look at Bell, John, as a buy low guy. The workload's there week to week, and his schedule's just getting better. I don't know where you stand on him, but he's a buy low for me.
Bell, I think you stay put if you're an owner.
Yeah, you definitely
if
don't,
you
don't
want
sell
him
him at all if you're an owner.
Yeah, now is the time to buy low on him.
Let me just go through the schedule for you. So this is a tough week, I think. This could be a trap game for New England. New England's the second toughest team against running backs, but they've faced trash all year long. They have not played one good team. And they did play they play the Jets already? I think they did, but that was Luke What the Falk was out there. Am I mistaken on that?
I think they did.
Yeah. So but from a ranking standpoint, New England's a tough matchup. But then after that, Jacksonville, the 5th worst against running backs. Miami, the 2nd worst against running backs. The Giants, the 10th worst against running backs. Washington, the 7th worst against running backs. And Oakland's kind of tough, a top 5 rush D. And then Cincinnati, the 1st worst against running backs. Week 14, Miami, the 2nd worst. You get the picture here? Le'Veon Bell is a buy low right now. Buy low on that guy.
And he's averaging 6.6
and that's why we are
out
not
of the backfield.
And it won't matter because once this airs, Aaron won't know, but we're not posting this until he decides on that trade. We're not putting this podcast out there until we get a response on that trade. I can't give him this information.
But yeah, targets for Bell out of the backfield. This doesn't include his running game. 9 targets first week, 10 targets second week. For the third week, then he had a bye week, then he had 9, and this was just an odd week. It was 1 target out of the backfield, which is not like Le'Veon Bell. He was used as a workhorse the previous weeks with Darnold out. I think Darnold being back will actually help his game here. Chris Herndon is back. That should help Bell as well, but Bell is their focal point on this offense.
Yeah, definitely, as he should be. He's the best player on the offense.
He's top 10 for targets out of the backfield for a running back.
Yeah. So Chris Carson is back to what he was looking like the first part of the season. Chris Carson has just balled out the last couple of weeks. He seemingly has gone beyond his fumbling woes, his fumbling tragedies that he was having out there for fantasy owners and for the Seahawks. Last couple of weeks, 124 yards rushing. And the week before that, 118 yards rushing. The week before that, 104 yards rushing. He hasn't had less than 22 carries the last 3 weeks. This is as good as you're going to get for Chris Carson, John. And I know everybody thinks I'm a Chris Carson hater, but I'll give it to him. The last few weeks, he's been on fire, man.
But can he keep up this usage? That's what scares me.
And he's had Arizona, the Rams, and Cleveland. So it's not like these are tough defenses. Specifically, Arizona and Cleveland are just bad defenses. So he's had some sweet matchups. He's got Baltimore coming up. I think that's a little bit tougher. Tampa's a tough run D. San Francisco in week 10. So his schedule isn't
promising.
Too savory, let's just say. So for specifics in terms of where these teams rank, Tampa Bay is the 3rd toughest defense against running backs. San Francisco is the toughest defense against running backs. Philly, the 4th toughest. Minnesota is right up there as well. They're a top 10 rush defense. So it's not going to be easy for and even Atlanta and Baltimore are middle of the pack. They're middle of the road defenses against running backs. So it's going to be tough sledding for him in that regard. And then you got to believe Rashad Penny's going to come back this week. Does he get 20% of the workload? Does he get 30% of the workload? That's up for debate. But he will get a part of the workload.
He's going to have to sustain him for the playoffs to be healthy and everything. And this team's playing a playoff bound.
I'm glad you said that.
They're going to have to limit him because if not, Carson, there's no way Carson will make it. It's like McCaffrey, we've been saying. At some point, the motor's going to stop or he's going to get a serious injury. And I think they're going to work Penny in here. It's just a matter of time. I mean, Penny's been hurt, so it's not really Carson's. Yeah, he's picked up the pieces and carried the load here, but if you're a team going into the playoffs, you don't want to pound your back every week. It's like what you said with Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt will cut into his carries.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. So I think, here you sell.
Well, we'll package Nick Chubb with this too. So, I mean, Nick Chubb's a similar type of guy, but Nick Chubb is, he's going off right now. He's having a great season. He's getting all the work. But just like you said, much like Rashad Penny, Kareem Hunt is on the horizon. And I think Chubb's more durable than Carson is. Carson's injury prone.
He's been injured before.
And he's getting a ton of usage. And his style of play, John, is he looks for contact. So
he doesn't try to cut. He tries to barrel you over.
Yeah, he looks for contact. So there's injury concerns there with Carson. With Nick Chubb, I'm not as much of a sell high, but I'm a sell high on both these guys. I think you can take these guys. I think you could package them with maybe a solid wide receiver to get a Zeke or a Saquon and a CMC. So when I say sell high on these guys, I'm not just saying trade them off for nothing. I think you can utilize these guys to get one of those truly elite running backs.
Yeah, the consistency guys.
Right.
Or the guys who can put you above and beyond.
And basically Zeke, Saquon, and McCaffrey.
Yeah, top 3 running backs.
I don't know if I'm missing anybody there.
Kamara.
Yeah, maybe Dalvin Cook. Kamara is definitely one of them.
Yep.
So those type of guys that have all the workload and can catch passes, that's what I would sell high for with those guys. Nothing less than that. Stephon Diggs.
Sell high.
No, he's not a sell high.
Really?
He's a sell now.
Okay.
You drafted Diggs early, and this is, probably within the first 3 rounds, you drafted Stephon Diggs, if you own him. This right now, after that monster 45, 50, whatever it is, point game, 3 touchdowns, 150 yards receiving, after that game that just happened this week, sell him now. I'm telling you guys, sell him now. Sell him within the next 24 hours. Shop him around and get as much as you possibly can for him, because this week is the moment that you get that early draft value back from him, John. This is the time, because you're not going to have many opportunities moving forward, and you might not have any opportunities moving forward. He's not a big part of this offense. 1 game out of 6 does not convince me that he's a big part of this offense. More often than not, Thielen's going to get the targets over Diggs. You know who? Like we talked about, John. Diggs is Will Fuller. You're keeping Will Fuller because you drafted him in the 7th or 8th round. You drafted Diggs in the 2nd or 3rd. Sell him now. He's not a sell high. He's a sell now. He's not a buy low either, just in case you were
Here's an
wondering.
interesting stat of Diggs. He goes off every other. Well, I won't say go off, but his targets.
Yeah. He's only gone off once.
No,
this
his
year.
targets is high every other week.
Yeah.
So he was 2, week 1, then 7.
He's inconsistent.
Then 3, then 7, then 4, then 11. Guess what? Diggs ain't gonna have a good week. By this trend, I'm going by.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe next week.
I think he's been horrible all season, outside of a couple of weeks, John. And I don't want to deal with that all year.
My honest opinion too. I think they're trying to keep him happy because I know the whole.
This was a squeaky wheel.
Yeah,
week. Yeah.
It was a spade trade speculation, and he was also saying that he wasn't happy, and they're trying to keep him happy. So hey, let's keep you happy by throwing you the ball this week, and we'll keep you involved. Yeah. So now he's happy, just got his stats looking better. So I think it goes back to a Thielen week again, but Thielen is the consistent number 1 there now.
Yep.
So who we got next?
Moving on to Mike Evans. Mike Evans had a bit of a rough go this year in terms of what you expect out of him. He's only had 1 true bust-out week, and that was week 3. 8 catches on 15 targets for 190 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then this past week, his target count was up there again with 17 targets, 9 catches for 96 yards. But in week 5, he goosed you. In week 1, he had 5 targets. Week 2, he had 8. So his target count is inconsistent, John. He is inconsistent right now. But I consider Mike Evans a definite buy low. He's got some sweet matchups coming up. Arizona, New Orleans is a pretty good matchup against receivers, 7th worst. Atlanta's on the docket. Week 16, John, he has Houston, who's the 6th worst defense against receivers. He's got some good matchups coming up. I know it appears right now that he's the number 2 behind Chris Godwin. That's what it seems like. But if you look at his stats, traditionally, he's going to be a wide receiver 1. Tennessee could be a rough outing for him. That's not a great matchup. So that might be the time. If he has a rough week this week, I think that's the time to go strike.
I also think that teams are respecting Evans because of his past. Godwin was limited the last few years on how much playing time he has. He's more a full-time starter now than he ever was. I think the roles are going to change a little bit as the season goes on. People aren't going to keep letting Chris Godwin get open.
Yep.
So I think at some point they're going to either start putting more pressure on Godwin, which opens up Evans. They can't cover all these guys. There's no way.
No.
So it's a matter of time before Evans, I think, is a great buy low candidate, especially after this week. Is Tennessee, the only problem with this Tennessee game is their offense is so trash that it makes the Tennessee defense look worse because they're always on the field. Tennessee defense is actually really good, but when you're on the field, 70% of the time because your offense can't do a thing? Yeah. So, that's the thing. I hope Evans has a bad week this week. I love to buy him low after this week.
I'm with you. Definitely a buy low. Moving on to the last guy that we're going to expand on here is Carson Wentz, John. Carson Wentz has not had the season that you would like to see from him this year. He's only passed for more than 300 yards twice this season. He's passed for under 200 yards twice this season. Touchdown count's not bad. but just not what you expected so far from him. I think he'll be fine, and I'll tell you the main reason why I would buy low on him. Miami, New York Giants, Washington Redskins in the fantasy playoffs. That might be the best playoff matchup I've
look at that.
ever seen. Ever. Buy low for that reason alone. You with me?
I see it. I like it.
Ready for the lightning round?
Let's go. Okay. Actually, hold on.
Oh, jeez.
No, never mind. I looked at the wrong week. Never mind. I apologize.
okay?
Yep.
All right. All right, let's get to the lightning round. You get some lightning noises for me, John?
I can't do that one.
Oh, that was like, yours was better than mine. All right, McLovin. Buy low, sell high, stand by. You're not dumping him.
I am standing by with him. Or sell him high. If you're
definitely not a buy low. I'm standing by.
Yeah, if you're a McLovin owner.
All right, lightning round. Tyler Boyd. Stand by.
Stand by.
Christian Kirk.
Buy low.
Buy low. Josh Gordon.
Buy low.
Buy low. Robbie Anderson.
Buy low.
Buy low. James Conner.
Sell high.
I want to say stand by, but I would probably sell high at this point if I had a good offer. Joe Mixon. I don't think anybody's buying him. I say stand by because I don't think anybody's buying him low.
You put him on the bench till further notice.
Yeah,
it's
he's
not
a
even his
standby.
fault. It's the line. It's Dalton. It's
If
everything.
you own him, you can't trade him. You're not getting anything.
You're not
back.
you're not gonna get anything. You stash him.
Marquise Brown.
Buy low.
Hollywood. Buy that man low. Probably should have put him in the big list, but Odell Beckham Jr.
Sell high.
Is he high right now? I don't think he's that high right now. I would stand by. He's a standby. O.J. Howard. Gotta go.
Cut.
Gotta go, man. I can't believe I'm saying that, but
He can play for the Tampa Bay Rays.
unless wait for him to get traded, otherwise gotta go.
If he gets traded, he has extreme value
but you
depending on where he
don't
goes.
know, you know.
Patriots, he'd be an explosion.
So when's the I know it's lightning round, but when's the trade deadline? Week 8?
October 30th or something like that? 29th?
Wait till then, and then if he doesn't get traded, gotta go. Brandon Cooks. Buy low.
Buy low.
DK Metcalf.
Buy low.
Buy low. Keep that guy if you own him. David Monty Burns Montgomery.
Buy low.
He's burning you in the wrong way this time.
Buy low.
I would buy.
His usage is going up.
I would buy low, and if you own him, don't sell him. Stand by. Devontae Adams.
Buy low.
Ooh, that was a jinx. You owe me a code. MBS.
Cut.
Gotta go. Miles Sanders.
Buy low.
I would buy low.
Kid's too talented right now.
Anybody else, John? Sony Michel. Sell high.
Sell high.
Because he's giving you good output in PPR.
Yes, sell high, but at the same time, wait and see because he gets better as the year goes on.
So would you trade him in a package deal for Lev Bell?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
If I can upgrade, definitely.
Cool. Is that about it? You got any more? Dan Jones, what about him? Buy low?
Buy low.
He's got a good
Great playoff schedule.
Yeah, he does.
I think he's got like number 2 schedule or number 1 for the playoffs. Actually, Wentz has number 1 after I saw that.
Matty Ice. Did we go over Matty Ice?
Oh, Matty Ice, come on.
I know you can't buy low on him, and I don't think you
can't
can sell high. You just stand by him because he's going to keep
If
doing
you
that.
can get him cheap, do it. The guy has 6 straight games of 300-plus yards, period. He's on pace, like I said, to break Peyton Manning's single-season passing record. And with how trashy that defense is, he going to be throwing a lot.
So for John and DJ, it's not buy low. It's not sell high. It's got to go. That's it for today. We'll catch you guys tomorrow where we look ahead to Week 7. And hopefully the Dynasty League and the Tag Team League keep going in the right direction for me. And my Keeper League, my League of Record, turns it around. Changed the team name, so I pulled a John Ross. Wheels up from here, right, John?
Yeah, he changed his team name 3 times last time. I think I was
twice. I changed it
Okay.
twice, and I had to change it the second time because I couldn't find the logo for the other name.
I was wondering why you
I have
did that.
logos
Oh,
for
okay.
each team name that I've had in the past, and I couldn't find the logo for it, so I went with the OG name, the original.
A throwback.
Yeah, it's time to bring the drop kick back. dust it off, start drop kicking fools week to week.
Stunners everywhere.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Thanks for supporting the show. Until next time.